Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
On a rainy Wednesday morning in September 2025, the kind of relentless drizzle that turns the bustling city streets into a slick, reflective labyrinth of puddles and hurried pedestrians, I stood in the kitchen of our modest suburban home in the outskirts of Chicago. The house was a two-story colonial we'd bought 8 years ago, back when dreams of a family and forever seemed as solid as the oak cabinets I was leaning against. Stirring a mug of coffee that had gone lukewarm from neglect, I watched the steam curl lazily upward, mingling with the faint, lingering scent of Eleanor's signature perfume, a mix of jasmine and vanilla that once made my heart skip, but now just twisted the knife of suspicion deeper. She was in the hallway, meticulously fixing her eyeliner in the full-length mirror we'd impulsively purchased during a weekend trip to IKEA. Years ago, when such outings felt like playful adventures, rather than rote obligations in a fading routine. Her phone buzzed incessantly on the antique console table, beside her persistent vibrations, that she silenced with a quick, furtive glance, her full lips curving into a secretive smile that was clearly not intended for me. Her husband of 12 years. Morning meeting at the office, I asked, my voice striving for casual nonchalance, though it carried an unmistakable edge I couldn't quite suppress, like a poorly tuned string on a guitar. Eleanor turned slightly, her long, dark hair cascading over one shoulder in soft waves, and flashed a smile that didn't quite reach her hazel eyes, as it used to sparkle with shared inside jokes, but now seemed guarded, distant. Actually, it's a team-building event tonight, she replied smoothly, dabbing at her lips with a tissue to perfect the bold red shade she'd started favoring lately. The Walters project, big potential client, you know how it is, might run late, so don't wait up. She avoided my gaze entirely, focusing instead on adjusting the collar of her blouse, a new one I'd never seen before, made of luxurious silk that shimmered under the hallway light. Expensive looking and far too elegant for our usual casual dinners or movie nights at home. I nodded mechanically, sipping the coffee that now burned bitter in my throat. Acrid taste that perfectly mirrored the gnawing suspicion churning in my gut like a storm about to break. I'd been with her firm, Vanguard Consulting, for over a decade as a senior accountant, meticulously crunching numbers for high-stakes corporate clients, ensuring every ledger balanced to the penny, and convincing executives that their sprawling empires were solvent even when they teetered precariously on the edge of collapse. I knew every account inside out, every handshake deal, every whispered negotiation in those glass-walled conference rooms. Walters Industries. They'd bailed out 4 months ago for a disastrous merger gone sour, leaving behind a trail of unpaid invoices and awkward emails. No ongoing project, no legitimate meeting, just another transparent lie stacking up like a house of cards built on unpaid emotional bills, threatening to topple at any moment. My name is Alex Rivera, 41 years old, with a receding hairline I often joke about in self-deprecating humor to deflect the creeping insecurities that come with middle age, and a wardrobe filled with sensible button-down shirts and khakis that scream reliability over any hint of excitement or spontaneity. By day, I handle the finances for multi-million-dollar deals, dissecting balance sheets and forecasting risks with the precision of a surgeon. But in my own personal life, I couldn't seem to balance the crumbling books of my marriage, no matter how hard I tried to ignore the red flags waving like distress signals. Eleanor, my vibrant wife of 12 years, whom I'd met in college during a late-night study session that turned into our first date over cheap pizza, had transformed over the past year from my loving partner into someone I barely recognized. And now, the truth was undeniable. She was having an affair, not just any fleeting indiscretion, but a calculated one with Derek Hale, the slick sales director at her firm, the kind of guy who flaunted ostentatious Rolex watches and impeccably tailored suits on his meticulously curated LinkedIn profile, positioning himself as a visionary leader in every self-promotional post that screamed narcissism. I discovered the betrayal 2 weeks earlier, on a particularly sleepless night when chronic insomnia drove me from our king-sized bed to the living room couch. and curiosity or perhaps desperation led me to her unlocked tablet left carelessly charging on the nightstand amid a clutter of books and chargers. The messages were there, unencrypted and brazenly explicit, a torrent of steamy exchanges about private sessions after work hours, how I was stuck in a monotonous routine, as predictable as the ticking of our grandfather clock in the hall, while Derek made her feel truly alive, desired, and exhilarated in ways I apparently no longer could. Can't wait for our next escape from reality. One message read, timestamped from just days ago. The gym receipts, crumpled, unforgotten in the depths of her designer bag, confirmed the pattern twice weekly memberships at Elite Fitness, an upscale boutique spot downtown where personal training evidently included far more than standard reps, sets, and protein shakes. Tuesdays and Thursdays, like unforgiving clockwork, aligning perfectly with her late nights at the office. I read them all in the dim, blue glow of the screen, my heart pounding as Aelana snored softly beside me in our shared bed, oblivious or perhaps willfully uncaring to the storm brewing right next to her. That fateful morning, as she grabbed her wool coat from the hook and pecked my cheek, a perfunctory gesture that left a faint, mocking lipstick mark, would later scrub away in frustration. I watched her through the rain-streaked bay window, backing out of the driveway in her sleek SUV, pausing only to check her reflection one last time in the rearview mirror, adjusting a stray hair with practiced vanity. The engine hummed away into the grey dawn, leaving me enveloped in a heavy silence broken only by the rhythmic patter of rain on the roof, and a resolve that had been slowly building othering storm clouds, dark and inevitable. At the office later that day, buried deep in a sea of spreadsheets, endless conference calls with demanding clients, and the fluorescent hum of overhead lights, I tried desperately to focus on the numbers dancing across my door monitors, but the betrayal looped endlessly in my mind like a corrupted video file. My buddy Mike Thompson, the affable H, whose rep with a knack for reading people like open personnel files, cornered me in the break room during a hurried lunch break. He was a burly guy in his late 30s, with a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow, a booming laugh that could diffuse even the tensest office politics, and a wardrobe of polo shirts that strained against his gym-honed physique. Except today, his usual joviality was absent, replaced by genuine concern. "Alex, buddy, you look like someone ran over your dog twice, and then backed up for good measure," he said, sliding a vending machine sandwich my way across the formica table, its plastic wrapper crinkling loudly in the quiet room. "Spill it, man. What's eating you?" I hesitated for a long moment, staring at the unappetizing turkey club, if it held the answers, then let it all pour out in a rush torrent. The accumulating lies, the incriminating messages I'd stumbled upon. The Harmony Network Aelana had enthusiastically joined 6 months ago, a supposed women's empowerment group focused on professional growth and self-improvement, with meetings twice a week, rotating upscale venues like trendy wine bars or luxury spas. They discuss career strategies, networking tips, personal development. I'd once parroted her enthusiastic explanation to friends at a barbecue, believing it myself at the time. But now, it all felt horribly off, like a puzzle with missing pieces that suddenly snapped into a disturbing picture. Mike's face darkened immediately, his usual easygoing demeanor vanishing like smoke in the wind, replaced by a grave expression I'd only seen once before, during a company layoff announcement. He leaned in closer, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper amid the whir of the coffee machine. "Harmony Network. Oh, man. That's no legitimate empowerment circle, Alex. It's a clever front, a clandestine club for married women experimenting with free passes, one fling, no questions asked, no supposed consequences. But trust me, it never stops at just one, it spirals into something much darker." His words hit me like a physical punch to the solar plexus, knocking the wind out of my denial. The revelation about Mike's own connection deepened the blow. His sister, Carla, had divorced abruptly 2 years prior, packing up and moving across state lines to start fresh in California. I'd always assumed it was the standard marital drift, growing apart, irreconcilable differences, but now the truth emerged. Carla got sucked in deep, Mike confessed, his eyes distant as he recalled the painful family drama. She confessed everything to me right before she left for good. It's highly organized, strict rules, discreet meetups at private locations, even a hierarchy of members. They frame it all as exploring personal options, without fully ditching the stability and security of marriage. Hall passes, they call them, like some kind of twisted game token. But it's really a power trip, Alex. The women in the group share intimate stories, laugh about their boring or predictable husbands over cocktails, all while convincing themselves it's empowering. I grip the edge of the table, my knuckles turning white as I process this. Suddenly, Eleanor's recent changes flooded back in vivid detail. The new, provocative lingerie I'd found hidden in the back of her dresser drawer, the phone that was now perpetually locked with a complex passcode and always placed face down on tables, the distant, mechanical kisses that felt more like transactions than expressions of affection, the networking events where she returned home late, her cheeks flushed and glowing with an energy I hadn't seen in years, smelling faintly of unfamiliar cologne that clung to her clothes like evidence. "You ever hear of husbands pushing back against this?" I asked, my voice steady but laced with underlying fury. Mike nodded grimly, pulling out his phone to show me an encrypted app. "There's an informal support chat online, guys just like us, comparing notes, venting frustrations. It's not pretty, Alex, it's raw and heartbreaking, but it's a lifeline. Want me to get you in?" That very night, over frothy pints at Illyria's, a dimly lit Irish pub tucked away in a quiet neighborhood with worn wooden booths scarred from years of potroms, sticky floors from spilled drinks, and the rhythmic thud of darts hitting corkboards in the corner, Mike dove deeper into the underbelly of the Harmony network. The rain continued to patter relentlessly against the fogged-up windows, mirroring the turmoil in my soul. "They host these posh, exclusive mixers," he explained in hushed tones, nursing his dark Guinness as foam clung to his mustache. "Wives bring their lovers often younger, fitter guys from gyms or workplaces, and sometimes they even invite their husbands to observe under the guise of transparency and open communication. But make no mistake, it's pure humiliation disguised as some enlightened relationship philosophy. It's a power play through and through, making you feel utterly inadequate, while they sip expensive champagne and pat each other on the back for being progressive." I gripped my own glass tighter, the condensation slick under my fingers, imagining Eleanor at one of these events, her arm linked possessively with Derek, toasting to personal growth, while I sat at home alone, scrolling through Netflix in ignorance. Mike pulled out his phone again, showing a screenshot from a hidden forum buried in the depths of the dark web. The husbands chat completely anonymous, but the stories are real and gut-wrenching. Guys share war stories, legal advice on protecting assets, even therapy recommendations. Some choose to accept it quietly to avoid the carnage of divorce, crippling alimony payments, brutal custody battles over kids we don't even have yet, losing the house. Others, well, they snap, and it gets ugly: confrontations, restraining orders, the works. By the time the pub called last orders and we stumbled out into the cooling rain, I joined the chat under a carefully chosen pseudonym, Betrayed by Encounter. Messages flooded my inbox almost immediately, heartbreaking tales of discovery, quiet rage, and shattered dreams. One guy described finding hotel keycards tucked in coat pockets. Another recounted overhearing whispered phone calls in the middle of the night. It was a digital brotherhood of the broken, united by shared deception and a desperate need for solidarity. The next day, Thursday, I arranged to meet two members from the group at a neutral, out-of-the-way spot, a quiet coffee shop in the suburbs, far from the city's prying eyes and our mutual workplaces. The place was cozy, with mismatched chairs, the aroma of fresh ground beans, and soft jazz playing in the background. Ben Harlow, a high school history teacher in his mid-40s, with wire-rimmed glasses that slid down his nose and a perpetual defeated slump to his shoulders, nursed a plain black coffee, staring into it as if it held the secrets to his misery. His wife, Sophie, had hooked up with a hipster barista from her weekly yoga class. It started as self-care and me time, he muttered bitterly, his voice low to avoid eavesdroppers. Now she's at these Harmony events twice a month, coming home with that smug glow, like she's unlocked some secret to happiness I can't provide. Carlos Mendoza, a structural engineer with a firm jawline, but weary, bloodshot eyes that spoke of countless sleepless nights, nodded in agreement, stirring sugar into his latte with mechanical precision. His spouse, Maria, was entangled with her charismatic boss at a tech startup. We keep the homes intact, avoid the alimony hell and financial ruin, Ben continued, his tone laced with resignation. But our dignity, that's long gone. You wake up every day feeling like a mere placeholder in your own life, a bank account with legs. They spilled more details over refills, painting a fuller picture of the network's operations. It had structured tiers of membership, with entry fees starting at $300 monthly per couple, a proprietary app for tracking explorations and sharing anonymous success stories, even workshops on managing spousal resistance with psychological tactics straight out of a manipulation playbook. And the events themselves, lavish affairs at exclusive venues like secluded lakeside villas or private yachts. The next one was scheduled for Saturday. Lydia Vorse's sprawling estate, a renowned therapist who profited handsomely from the ensuing marital therapy sessions and divorce consultations. She's the queen bee of the operation, Carlos warned, glancing over his shoulder paranoia style. She recruits vulnerable women through her practice, then cashes in big on the emotional fallout. It's a vicious cycle. That evening, Elena came home unusually late, her hair tousled in a way that suggested more than a long day at the office, smelling of rich red wine and the stranger's cologne musky and expensive. Clinging to her skin like an unwanted embrace, she kicked off her high heels with a dramatic sigh, collapsing onto the couch, if exhausted from legitimate work. What an exhausting day. Client dinners are killers, she complained, not meeting my eyes. I feigned sympathetic interest while she scrolled her phone, but later, when she was in the shower humming an old tune we used to dance to, I rifled through her coat pocket on a hunch. There it was, a folded note on elegant, scented stationery, the kind from high-end boutiques. One night with Derek, then back to us. Promise E. The words seared into my brain like a brand, transforming my simmering rage into a cold, calculated resolve. No more pretending, no more denial. Friday morning dawned with a fragile clarity, the rain finally easing into a misty haze. Over breakfast crunchy cereal for me, organic yogurt topped with berries for her. I confronted her calmly, my voice steady as I laid out the evidence. Harmony Network, hall passes, Derek Hale. She paled instantly, her spoon clattering against the bowl like a gunshot in the quiet kitchen. How did you? Alex, it's not what you think at all. It's about personal growth, self-discovery. The group says it strengthens bonds, makes us appreciate each other more deeply by exploring boundaries. Tears welled in her eyes, streaming down her cheeks, but they weren't born of genuine remorse. They were frustrated, like a child caught red-handed with forbidden sweets, angry at the exposure of the act. The other women in the group swear by it. They say their husbands understand and even participate. It's modern, progressive and not cheating, but evolution. Lies, all of it, I said flatly, my heart hardening. But fine, if it's truly just one night, I'll drive you to Derek's loft myself. No questions asked, no judgment. Her eyes widened in utter confusion, searching my face for the catch. You're serious? This isn't like you. Dead serious. Get dressed, let's make this happen. The drive to Derek's sleek downtown loft was tense and silent, the rain sluicing down the windshield in sheets, wipers swishing rhythmically like a metronome counting down to confrontation. Elena fidgeted in the passenger seat, glancing at me sideways with growing unease. This is so weird, Alex. Are you really okay with this? Perfectly fine, I replied, forcing a smile that I knew unnerved her, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I dropped her off at the glass-fronted building, its modern facade gleaming under streetlights, waving cheerfully as she hesitated in the brightly lit lobby, her expression a mix of confusion and fear. As soon as she disappeared inside, I called Mike. Get me deeper into that husbands group. I need solid plans. Intel everything. At Clancy's pub that night, a gritty dive bar with sticky floors from spilled beers, flickering neon signs advertising cheap drafts, and a jukebox blaring classic rock band, and Carlos joined us around a scar table. Over rounds of whiskey that burned going down, they shared more insider intel. They have a private app for logging every encounter, sharing success stories anonymously to inspire others. The feast fund the extravagant parties fully catered, with top-shelf liquor, and even security to keep out unwanted eyes. I outlined my emerging plan. Infiltrate the event, document everything discreetly, and expose the whole rotten operation. No violence, no direct confrontations, I stressed firmly. Just the unvarnished truth, captured and shared. Saturday dawned clear and crisp, the air carrying the first hint of autumn chill. But my mind was a whirlwind of strategy and suppressed emotion. Elena texted casually, "Staying out tonight for more networking, don't wait up." I replied with feigned nonchalance, "Have fun, love." Meanwhile, I'd taken proactive steps, frozen our joint credit cards to prevent further spending on her adventures, transferred $4,000, exactly half our liquid savings, to a new solo account in my name only, protecting what was mine. Friday afternoon, before the party loomed, I confronted Derek directly at the office. He was in a glass-walled conference room, schmoozing a potential client with his trademark charisma. I waited patiently until he stepped out for a break, my phone recording subtly in my breast pocket. Derek Hale, Alex Rivera, Eleanor's husband. He extended a manicured hand, smirking with false confidence. "Ah, the accounting guy. Eleanor mentions you often. Look, this is just a consenting adults exploring deep connections, physical, emotional, even spiritual. No harm intended." "Spiritual," I echoed sarcastically, my voice rising just enough to draw curious glances from nearby cubicles. "How many married women are you spiritually connected to right now, Derek?" His polished charm cracked visibly, his face flushing. "That's none of your damn business." I raised my volume strategically, turning heads. Everyone in earshot. Meet Derek Hale, the star sales director who specializes in bedding married colleagues. "How's that for innovative team building?" Chaos erupted, gasps from co-workers, whispers rippling through the open plan office like wildfire. Derek's face turned beet red with a mix of embarrassment and fury. "Get the hell out before I call security." I left calmly, footage securely captured, my heart pounding with a mix of adrenaline and vindication. Saturday evening arrived with the golden hues of sunset painting the sky, but tension coiled in my chest like a spring. Voss's lakeside villa glowed invitingly under strands of elegant string lights, a sprawling estate with impeccably manicured lawns sweeping down to a private dock jutting into the calm waters of the lake. Luxury cars lined the circular driveway, BMWs, Mercedes, even a Tesla or two, as well-dressed guests arrived, masquerading as couples, but clearly not in the traditional sense. I infiltrated via a discreet side gate, blending in with a borrowed suit, while Ben and Carlos tailed from a safe distance, ready with backup phones for recording. Inside the villa, crystal champagne flutes clinking, ornate masks for optional anonymity, soft jazz wafting from hidden speakers, creating an atmosphere of sophisticated debauchery. Elena arrived fashionably late, arm in arm with Derek, laughing melodiously at something he whispered, her elegant gown hugging her figure in a way that twisted my gut. Lydia Voss, a poised woman in her early 50s with sharp, angular features and an air of unassailable authority, addressed the assembled crowd from the top of a grand, sweeping staircase. "Welcome to another enlightening gathering of the Harmony Network. Here, we embrace no jealousy, only pure fulfillment. True love means supporting your partner's deepest desires, even if they lie beyond traditional bounds." I bided my time, heart racing, then interrupted dramatically from the balcony overlooking the main hall, my voice booming with controlled fury. "This isn't love or fulfillment, it's calculated manipulation and betrayal." Using a pre-hacked projector courtesy of Mike's tech savvy, I aired the damning recordings on a massive screen, incriminating messages the handwritten note, evidence of fees and aplogs. Then, I tossed printed emails, receipts, and financial statements into the air like confetti at a macabre celebration. Here's the real harmony: layers of lies, financial exploitation, and orchestrated heartbreak. Panic spread like wildfire through the room. Guests scrambled for exits. Masks slipping, voice shrieked for her private security team. Eleanor's face drained of all color, her eyes locking onto mine in horror. "Alex, what have you done?" The guards dragged me out roughly, but it was too late. The footage was already uploading to multiple social media platforms. Hashtags like Harmony Exposed and Betrayal Mask trending in real time. Shares exploded. Eleanor's frantic texts flooded my phone. "Take it down immediately. You're ruining innocent lives." I refused steadfastly, my resolve unbreakable. Divorce papers were served swiftly with the overwhelming evidence. I'd compiled screenshots, recordings, financial trails. She got nothing in the settlement. No alimony, no share of the house, no sympathy from the judge, who viewed her actions as premeditated fraud. Months later, by December 2025, the Harmony Network had completely dissolved amid a barrage of lawsuits from betrayed spouses and regulatory scrutiny. Boss faced severe ethics probes from her professional licensing board, her practice crumbling under the weight of public outrage. Derek's once promising career tanked spectacularly. He was fired from Vanguard amid internal investigations, blacklisted in the industry, reduced to menial jobs, while his reputation lay in tatters. I found myself thrust into the spotlight, appearing on podcasts and talk shows, detailing the ordeal with measured, articulate calm. It wasn't about blind revenge, I'd explain to hosts and audiences alike. It was about reclamation of truth, personal dignity, and the right to not be manipulated in one's own marriage. I began writing my book, Exposed Bombs, Reclaiming Respect in Modern Marriage, a comprehensive guide for others ensnared in similar webs, complete with chapters on spotting red flags, protecting assets, and rebuilding life post-betrayal. Remarried. No rush at all, the wounds heal slowly. But dates come and go now, each one a step toward trust rebuilt on solid ground. Free from the suffocating weight of lies, life's horizons have expanded. Solitary walks in the park, under crisp autumn leaves. Spontaneous solo travels to places like the Grand Canyon or European cities. Deeper bonds with real friends who stood by me through the storm. The game's over for good. I won my peace, and in doing so, perhaps saved countless others from stumbling into the same insidious trap. To delve even deeper into those transformative months of aftermath, the viral video from the villa party hit an astonishing 1 million views within mere days, igniting fierce national debates on the ethics of infidelity, the rise of open relationships, and the hidden dangers of manipulative social clubs. Major news outlets came calling, interviews on CNN's morning shows, segments on Fox News primetime, even international coverage from the BBC and Al Jazeera, where I sat under hot studio lights, recounting the story with a composure born from hard-won perspective. It wasn't revenge, I'd reiterate calmly to probing hosts. It was reclamation of truth, dignity, and the fundamental respect every partner deserves. Back at home, the once shared house felt eerily empty at first, echoes bouncing off walls that held to many memories. I took the opportunity to redecorate entirely. Fresh coats of neutral paint to erase the past, minimalist furniture that reflected my newfound simplicity. Even installing a home gym in the basement to reclaim my own self-improvement journey, pounding out frustrations on the treadmill. Mike and I co-founded a legitimate support group, not online shadows, but in-person meetings for betrayed spouses, offering resources, counseling referrals, and a spaced event without judgment. Ben, inspired by my actions, finally divorced Sophie and found solace in teaching abroad, sending postcards from exotic locations like Thailand. Carlos, on the other hand, reconciled with Maria, as she severed ties with the network. Intensive couples therapy bridged their fractured gaps, turning their story into one of cautious renewal. Eleanor, our paths crossed once more, unexpectedly, at a nondescript coffee shop near our old neighborhood. She looked visibly tired. The radiant glow she'd once exuded now dimmed, her designer clothes replaced by practical attire. "You destroyed everything I had," she whispered accusingly over a steaming latte. "No," I replied evenly, without malice. "You did that yourself. I just lit the match to illuminate the truth." She walked away without another word, and in that moment I felt nothing, not seething anger, not lingering pity, just profound closure, like turning the final page of a painful chapter. The book's release in spring 2026 propelled it onto bestseller lists, with royalties funding personal adventures backpacking through Europe. Volunteering in Asia where I encountered strangers with parallel stories of betrayal and resilience. A woman in Paris shared over croissants how my video empowered her to leave an abusive open marriage, reclaiming her independence. A man in Tokyo emailed gratefully, "Your courage gave me the strength to confront my own demons." Of course, fame's double-edged sword brought its share of trolls and backlash. Anonymous online threats labeling me a bitter misogynist, accusations of overreaction from defenders of alternative lifestyles. But the supporters far outnumbered the men and women alike, weary of society's normalization of betrayal, sending messages of solidarity that reinforced my path. Professionally, irony abounded. Vanguard promoted me to lead accountant in the wake of the scandal, Derek's abrupt exit creating vacancies, and my demonstrated composure under fire impressing the higher-ups. I began mentoring junior staff not just on financial ethics, but on personal boundaries, weaving lessons from my ordeal into professional development talks. The psychological toll was no small hurdle. In the weeks following the exposure, insomnia became my unwelcome companion, with nightmares replaying Eleanor's laughter and Derek's smug smirk in endless loops. Therapy with Dr. Ramirez, a no-nonsense counselor specializing in trauma recovery, proved invaluable. Betrayal fundamentally rewires your trust mechanisms, she explained during our weekly sessions in her cozy office, lined with bookshelves. We dissected the marriage layer by layer, how Eleanor's unchecked ambition clashed with my steadfast stability, how small, unspoken resentments had snowballed into an avalanche of deceit. I journaled daily, filling notebooks with raw reflections. Why did I stay blind for so long? Uncovering deep-seated fears of loneliness, failure, and starting over at 41. To cope, I volunteered at local crisis hotlines, guiding callers through spotting red flags, sudden secrecy, gaslighting tactics, the allure of empowerment groups that masked ulterior motives. It was cathartic, turning my pain into purpose. Socially, friendships fractured and reformed. Some acquaintances distanced themselves, uncomfortable with the public drama splashed across headlines. Others rallied fiercely impromptu barbecues at Mike's backyard, lively game nights with Ben before his move. New bonds emerged, forged in the fire of shared vulnerability, like a men's book club where we discussed not just literature, but life lessons. During the initial investigation phase, I'd hired a private investigator, Rita Gonzalez, a sharp-eyed ex-cop with a no-frills approach and a track record of discreet operations. She tailed Eleanor for a week, confirming the illicit meetups at mid-range hotels and cozy cafes, providing time-stamped photos and reports that bolstered my divorce case immeasurably. Classic setup, Rita remarked dryly over coffee as she handed me the dossier. These groups prey on midlife crises, promising excitement without the mess until it all implodes. In the husband's chat, a poignant subplot unfolded. One member, Greg, attempted reconciliation with his wife, but crumbled when she doubled down on her involvement, leading to a harrowing suicide attempt that shocked the group. We rallied collectively, pooling resources to fund his inpatient therapy and recovery, humanizing the abstract pain and fueling my unwavering resolve to dismantle the network. At the party itself, more vivid details etched into memory, masked guests mingling in opulent rooms, adorned with crystal chandeliers and velvet drapes, whispers of explorations floating like smoke. I spotted minor celebrities, B-list actors and influencers adding layers of scandal when their identities leaked in the exposure. Voss's keynote speech included curated testimonials, "My marriage thrives now," from a poised woman whose husband stood beside her, his eyes hollow and broken, a living testament to the group's cruelty. Post-exposure, legal battles raged. Voss sued me for trespass and defamation. I countersued for intentional infliction of emotional distress, winning handily with the mountain of evidence. Eleanor's lawyer argued valiantly for a consensual lifestyle choice, but the judge dismissed it outright, citing clear elements of fraud and manipulation. The book's structure unfolded in detailed chapters: the discovery of deceit, layers of deception, the confrontation storm, the exposure inferno, and rebirth from ashes, each packed with practical advice. Monitor joint finances closely. Betrayal often manifests first in unexplained bills and charges. On a personal level, transformation continued. I committed to the gym rigorously, shedding 20 pounds of stress weight, running half marathons as symbolic triumphs over inertia. It was about reclaiming the body and spirit Eleanor had subtly mocked in her messages. Family dynamics shifted too. My aging parents, initially shocked by the scandal's publicity, became pillars of support, my mom sending care packages of home-cooked meals. My sister flew in from Seattle, helping pack Eleanor's abandoned belongings into boxes destined for storage. "You're so much better off now," she affirmed, hugging me tightly. Looking toward future dreams, perhaps children with someone new, a quiet wedding under starry skies, but no rush. The journey itself has become the reward, each step a testament to resilience. If you enjoyed this story and want more captivating tales of betrayal, redemption, and personal triumph, please like this post and subscribe to the channel End Stories for regular updates and exclusive content. Your support keeps the stories coming.